This is just to show off the build without going through a whole game because it's a little unnecessary. So the needle can deal with any amount of crushers for free. Notice we have 55% crit chance until we actually attack because all knives and darktide get innate free crit chance. This is without finesse, by the way. And as you can see, it one-shots like everything up to a crusher. It kills everything. It is a ton of cleave. Okay, you get the idea of how the build's played. I'm not going to baby you. So let's talk about the shivs. Well, first, before we talk about anything, this is the build. Shivs, needle gun, these marks specifically, Curio, 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 talents like this, and Stimm Lab. Now, there's a lot of variants, and I'm going to talk about all of it. So first, let's talk about why the shivs. Let's get this out of the way. The crowbar sucks. If you're struggling with this character in melee, it's almost certainly because the crowbar is terrible. Well, what makes the knives so much better? Well, they're an assassin type, which is the best weapon type in the game. Finesse is a multiplier increase to your crit and your weak spots and all that nonsense. So, as you can see, we're getting that like 0.23x. Like, this is a huge increase to damage. Penetration is a huge increase to damage versus, specifically, armor, which is what most of your damage potential is going to get eaten up against. And then first target, which is another multiplier that is applied on just whatever the first target is, which is going to obviously be the armored guys. It also has the 2 highest DPS blessings in the game, and you can afford to run them. Never run finesse on these, purely because of the 70% crit chance you get without finesse. And if you look at the attack breakdown, this thing is doing like 600 damage baseline against Carapace before any of these multipliers or any of these blessings or anything takes into effect. Whereas if we go to something like the crowbar, well, relentless attacks are pretty terrible. The strike downs are okay, but unfortunately, half of your attacks are going to be basically unusable. Why this specific mark of the needle gun? Well, the other mark, the alt fire, is just a straight upgrade, but you are never going to try to clear hordes with the alt fire on this. This is only here for extra boss damage and to clear packs of crushers without having to get up close with them. As far as blessings go, dude, literally 90% of the blessings do not work with this weapon. Anything that has to deal with, like, damage or anything, excuse me, or procs on a kill is only going to apply if the actual needle does the killing or the damage, which is terrible. Run and gun is the only real exception to that, and you just use strip down so you don't have to worry about gunners. For the Curios, you absolutely need CDR to get as many rampages off as possible. Toughness is so you get over 200 toughness so that the character feels like every other character. And with 3 5% max health rolls, you can take an extra hit of bleed through on Havoc without dying, as opposed to only dying in 2 normally. But if you don't want to run that, some other popular picks are gunner damage resistance and revive speed. Please don't run stamina regen on this character. Okay. Now, one quick overview with the shivs, just for those who don't know. Always throw 2 on a crusher, because you'll get it back. And as you saw right there, the dot killed him. Even if the dot kills him, as long as you've done a melee attack within the last second, you will get your shivs back. Look at how much damage just 1 shiv adds to this guy. No damage blessings, no uncanny, no nothing stacked up. So you just throw 1 at any humanoid, and it basically ensures they will always die in like 1, maybe 2 hits. Okay, now let's go over the talents. Tertium Welcome is because it's literally just free melee damage against the Crusher or whatever armored enemy you're hitting or boss. Not too relevant versus trash. Precision Violence is you're attacking like, you're attacking like this quickly. Every single one of these is giving you 12% toughness back. It's a lot of toughness. Float Like a Butterfly is literally just finesse if it was a talent instead of a blessing. Or, I'm sorry, riposte. Which is why you should not run riposte on these. If you see someone running riposte on these, they call them a silly billy, because it is a straight DPS loss to not run precog for that 45% extra finesse for the crit multiplier. Burst of Energy, basically you just play this character like Anarchist from Payday 2, where once your toughness breaks and this goes on cooldown, you play super passively until it's back, and then you have that little almost small window of invulnerability where you can just always retreat. I have personally found this to be better than calling for a timeout and sticky hands in every build, But in a ranged build, calling for a timeout will theoretically save you more toughness than this will give you. But I think practically this just makes it smoother to run, but they're honestly about on par. So Chem Grenade is the clear best grenade. You could run the Boombringer if you want. It's just a straight downgrade to the Chem Grenade. And if you're going to run the Blackout Blitz, you have to run Pocket Toxin. I'd recommend getting rid of Forge's Bellow for it. And if you were going to do this, I would also recommend potentially getting a second row of something on the Stimm. And then maybe dropping maxed out chems as well. But that's something that I want to talk about in a minute. Gang Tough is not too great with this setup, but you have to take it. Nimble and Tis But a Scratch are also just to avoid taxes. We'd love to take Jittery, but you could again get rid of Forge's Bellow for Jittery if you feel like you need it. I would recommend staying away from these. You already gain enough stamina on this character. Sliding is okay, but it's really awkward to try and slide out of a melee attack. It's jank. It doesn't really happen all that often. This is just griefing your team by making more things attack them. This should just be completely changed. And Jittery is really good. Okay, let's talk Rampage. So, why take Forge's Bellow? Well, in case you don't know, Forge's Bellow activates when Rampage runs out, which means that damage increase and stamina and all that nasty shit for letting Rampage run out. What you do is if you don't take Forge's Bellow, then when this begins to run out, you kind of have to, like, you know, retreat out of combat to prepare for losing your ability to block and taking extra damage. But with Forge's Bellow, that knocks stuff down, and by the time they get back up, you've already got an okay amount of stamina back. It massively increases the uptime you can stay in melee. But this is definitely the weakest node, and you would get rid of it if you so desire. Ruffian is actually a pretty okay amount of melee damage, and Gunslinger Improved is more or less if your team is capable of taking advantage of it, because you definitely aren't in this build. You already get almost 70% crit chance. Anarchist is actually just less DPS than Ruffian at that point. Rampage itself, you want as much uptime on this as physically possible. 50% melee power and 20% attack speed and 25% damage reduction is really nothing to scoff at. You absolutely want as much uptime on this as physically possible. It is the whole reason you play this build. It also gives you 25% rending, which is huge, and it's why you don't need rending on the Stimm. Because between Uncanny at 5 stacks and this rending, you already nuke Crushers for like 5,000 damage in one hit. Boiling Blood is just so that you, again, extend the uptime. That's literally all it is. And Pulverizing Strikes gives you enough cleave to never have to worry about it. And the 25% melee power. And because it's power, that's even more cleave. It's better than just damage. So this is probably going to raise some eyebrows right away. Ammo Jack, Pickpocket, and why no Adrenaline Frenzy? So we'll just tackle these right away. This right here, Pickpocket, is because Pickpocket will activate on the Needle. And let's say you have here. Let me just show you. I could just show you why you take Pickpocket. Because let's say you have a bajillion of these guys, right? Let's just say you have like 1,000,000 of them, and you're like, oh, what do? I don't want to get into melee with all those guys. Well, this is what you do. You just leverage your space and then just keep shooting at them, and Pickpocket will always restore your ammo. And you never have to actually worry about, it doesn't matter how much armor there is. And you just keep, busting it down like this. I personally value that ability to never have to pick up ammo and always having an out versus endless hordes of armor. Just use the melee weapon to kite around, and when you've built distance, swap back to the gun. But you could drop this if you don't personally value that. It is extremely important you do not use hypercritical with this. Every single run I used hypercritical with hyperviolence with a melee build, I did less overall damage, less DPS in every single fight, and got less overall kills. I have much longer videos breaking down the interaction between these two nodes, but to give you the quickest TLDR, if hypercritical activates and it instantly kills something, you cannot, no matter what, get hyperviolence going. And for hyperviolence to really get going, you actually want to do a hit that will not quite kill someone, but get them close, which hypercritical would absolutely finish them off, because that just means if you hit something and it doesn't die, you know you just hit it one more time, hyperviolence procs. And what's important about hyperviolence is it's 25% of your overkill. So let's say you overkill for 1,000, you get 250 damage on your next attack. Well, that damage value will actually be applied things like crit, finesse bonuses, all that stuff. So that 250 damage is getting like a 3x multiplier because of your crit and all that shit. And then it becomes like a 700 damage bonus, etc. And it is just insane. You get ridiculous numbers like this because of that. So hypercritical prolongs the downtime between hyperviolence getting started. Because anytime this activates, that's an enemy you don't have to get hyperviolence on. It does not smooth out any weak power curves. It doesn't do anything like that. In fact, it extends the amount of time where hyperviolence isn't good. Yeah, I think I did that pretty succinctly. Punching above one weight, it's literally just free damage against elites and bosses, which are the two tankiest enemies in the game. I already explained hyperviolence. Hive City Brawler is just free damage reduction. You take this in every build. Extra pouches is because +1 blitz. You see we have 4 blitzes. Well, you have the strongest blitz in the game. You should absolutely be throwing as many as possible and picking up as many as possible. And as you see, getting 1 back means after picking up 3 of these cases, you've gained a free extra case's worth of grenades. Sample collector should just be in every build. In case it's not obvious, I think this, and this should be in literally every build, no exceptions. Okay, why chemical dependency and not the melee keystone? The melee keystone sucks. Adrenaline Frenzy is an awful keystone. So can I just point something out to you guys? Chem Enhanced, giving you 20% crit chance, allows you to drop riposte for precognition. That alone, precognition is already more DPS than 25% melee damage and 10% attack speed. This one node right here allows you to run a blessing that outperforms this entire keystone. That's already not good. But then, this keystone also gives you damage reduction, which, you know, if you're fighting in melee, you absolutely need damage reduction because you're liable to take the most amount of damage because, you know, you're frontlining in melee. This gives you no damage reduction, which is insane. It gives you this toughness replenish, but I don't care, frankly. It's better to reduce the incoming damage. You know, like, why do I need to replenish toughness when I'm attacking, like, 5 times a second and I'm getting 12%? You know, it's just... This class doesn't have an issue getting toughness back on any build. It has an issue not getting blown up in 2 attacks. Oh my god, sorry. Sorry, I had to take care of that coughing fit. That's the one unlisted downside of chem dependency, in case you weren't aware. You slowly die to the addiction in real life. Anyway... So, Chem Fortified giving you damage reduction is just a lot more valuable than the replenishment. And the main thing, this is what's so funny. This 40% ability reduction because of maxed out chems gives you more Rampage uses over the course of a run. It's some like 32% overall more Rampage uses. Well... Using 30%, however, 30, 40, however many you personally get off of this, using those extra Rampages, when you consider that Rampage just has double the bonus of Adrenaline Frenzy, having 30, 40, whatever you're personally going to get higher uptime on this compared to what you do with this, that alone would make this Keystone do comparable overall DPS throughout the entire match as Adrenaline Frenzy. And that's ignoring the fact that Chem Enhanced, because crits are just stronger than flat damage, and you get to run precog because of this. Like, any one of those factors would be enough to run this over this. The fact that you crit more, and crits are way stronger than normal attacks. Critting more allows you to run precog, which makes all your crits way stronger. Stronger than this makes them in the first place. And you get to use Rampage a whole lot more, which is just stronger than having this. It's just quite ridiculous. This is just objectively better in every way to Adrenaline Frenzy. This Keystone is shockingly bad, and it's going to get its own video. Now, as far as the Stimm lab goes, this is fine. This is fine. Don't do this. You already get enough crit chance. You don't even need the strength. You can drop this for attack speed. This is also completely fine. You should also add in 2 of these because it barely increases the cooldown. Really, anything, honestly, the Stimm is more so up to personal preference. And something people mentioned on the previous build video, chemical dependency, right? This is unfortunate reality of Fat Shark's UI design. You should have 100% uptime on this. Now, I'm aware most people are not going to be able to do this, but as you see, I'm using a mod to move the buff icon to the center of the screen right next to another mod that gives me a timer for the Stimm. Now, you can see the reality of this is that I just always know when it's going to run out and when I'm going to get it back. So I'll just be fighting, and I just see, you know, oh, hey, my Stimm's about to come back. I have however long on chemical dependency left. I don't need to Stimm. And then like 20 seconds later, oh, I'm about to use it. Let me Stimm. Though, ideally, you will be stimming on cooldown no matter what. And, by the way, look at how fast Rampage comes back. Just with the 2 stacks of chemical dependency and the 2 nodes of Klarna from the Stimm itself. Like, that right there is why Adrenaline Frenzy is so bad. Because that effectively halved our Rampage time total. And that's just way, way, way stronger than 25% more melee damage is going to be. But, yeah, I hope you like the build. I think this build is honestly about on par with the gun build. You can drop this if you want to make it more quality of life. I really wouldn't, though. I really think to get the most out of these setups, you just gotta get used to the maxed out chem lifestyle. It's very unfortunate, especially for console players. But I can just say from my own experience, I have 100% uptime on 4 stacks of this. I really hope Fat Shark makes the UI a bit more workable for this, because it's definitely a real drawback for a lot of people. And if you personally don't find it comfortable, just don't do it. You will get better results on the thing that has the less mental strain and better uptime for you personally.